There are Porsche 911s, and then there are Porsche 911s. These are the rarest and most special 911s on sale today, the Dakar and the ST. But does one of them feel more special than the other?
With these two limited edition models, Porsche is really just having some fun. Let's build an off-road 911. Let's build the ultimate hardcore 911 for the road. And the results, as we'll see, are spectacular.
The 911 Dakar is one of the first of a new breed of sports cars built for dirt. It's the Porsche 911 reimagined as a rally car. Based on the Carrera GTS, it has four-wheel drive, knobbly tyres if you want them, and more ground clearance.
I love the idea of thrashing a 911 Dakar over sand dunes or through a forest track. But let's be honest, very, very, very few of these cars will ever do that. Even so, I'm sold on the idea of the 911 Dakar as a road car because it sits higher than other 911s, because it's got these knobbly tyres, these Pirelli Scorpion tyres, if you want them anyway, they're fitted here. And those things mean it's got less grip than any other 911, less outright body control, more body movement than other 911s. And those things should make this car feel more alive on the road at sensible speeds. At least that's the theory. So does the reality live up to it? Well, it's sort of yes and no. No, because when you drive normally at sort of moderate speeds like I am now, it feels a lot like other 911s. But yes, because when you take this thing by the scruff of its neck and chuck it at a road, then you feel those differences. So when you really chuck this 911 Dakar into a few corners, that's when you sense that it doesn't have the grip of other 911s on asphalt anyway. And that's when you feel it just moving around a little bit beneath you, and you feel that there's more body roll. And so yeah, when you really attack a road hard, it does feel more alive than other 911s. It is, in a way, more fun to drive, more engaging to drive. I really like that about this car. Even so, I'm looking at the little G meter down here, and on these off-road tyres, this car still has masses of grip. I can see that it's pulled 1.2 G in braking, almost 1.1 Gs in acceleration, and close to 1.1 Gs cornering left and right as well. So on a dry road, even on these Pirelli Scorpion tyres, there is masses of grip. But it does run out a bit sooner than, you know, if we were on a Pirelli P0 tyre. So yeah, you can play about in this car a little bit more. You can get to the limit of grip a bit easier. I really like that about this 911 Dakar.
Compared to other special 911s, the Dakar has a fairly unspecial engine. It's a twin-turbo 3-litre flat-six producing 473 brake horsepower, the same motor you'll find in the GTS. But while it doesn't scream to 9,000 RPM, it's still a damn good engine.
For this kind of car, four-wheel drive car, reasonably heavy, certainly a good chunk heavier than the 911 ST, I think a turbo engine is absolutely the right choice. You want that muscle, you want that torque, especially if you're driving through, I don't know, gloopy mud, you're going to need that torque. And so this engine suits the character of the car really well, and it's a mighty engine. Throttle response is pretty good. Through the mid-range, the torque is really strong, but it's this bit here, it's right at the top end, beyond 7,000 RPM, where it comes alive. It feels so energetic up there. The revs just burst around to the red line. Do you know what? It's a really characterful engine. I know it's not like a GT3 or GT3 RS motor, but come on, for this kind of car, I think it's just about spot on. The gearbox, 8-speed PDK, lightning fast, really, really quick. Tightly stacked ratios. Oh, the four-wheel drive system is mega, puts down all that power and torque, and it means you just fire out of corners so fast. So this might be a 911 for the dirt, but actually on the road, it's really good fun. You just have to drive really, really hard to dig out that sense of enjoyment, that sense of character from this car. But I don't mind doing that at all. And that's on a warm summer's day. Just imagine what this thing's going to be like in the depths of winter, when the roads are in a terrible state, when it's really wet, maybe when there's snow and ice on the ground. This is just going to be the perfect winter sports car, isn't it? Yeah. I like this 911 Dakar a lot. The Intercooler is more than just a YouTube channel. It's also a multi-award-winning, ad-free online car magazine on website and app. We've got what we think is the finest team of automotive writers working anywhere in the world today. Better yet, we're offering you 3 weeks absolutely free with no credit card, no commitment, just 3 weeks completely free on us. In that time, if you wanted to, you could read every story we've ever published. That's more than 1,000 stories and close to 2 million words. So to get 3 weeks completely free on us, simply click the link on screen and sign up in seconds.
Not since the 2016 911R has there been a clamour among 911 collectors quite like this. The ST, says Porsche, is the 911 in its purest form. At 1,380 kilograms, it is the lightest 992 series 911. Like the GT3 Touring, the ST has been optimised for the road, not the track, which is why there's no enormous wing hanging off the back. So what's it like to drive on the road?
I don't normally start these review segments sitting stationary in the car, but in this 911 ST, it's worth doing. Can you hear the flywheel chuntering away? Just remember that for a moment. This car has got a very lightweight clutch and a single mass flywheel, which is why it's rattling away like that. And so it means you have to be very careful when pulling away. You don't use the gas, you simply put it into first, slowly come off the clutch, get the car rolling, and only when you're fully off the clutch do you use the power. The last Porsche that you had to do that in was the Carrera GT. That tells you a lot, doesn't it, about what this 911 ST is all about. So why don't you use the power as you're pulling away? Well, the point is you don't slip the clutch. If you do, you'll just fry it in no time at all, and you'll find yourself paying for a new, very expensive clutch. So you just have to be a bit careful when pulling away. You can use a little bit of gas. As long as you're not slipping the clutch, you're okay. I wondered if that would make this car just a bit of a nuisance, too much hassle for its own good. But actually, it's fine. It takes a little bit of sort of deft footwork, but it's easy enough. So this really is a very, very raw, focused kind of 911. It's a purist 911. It really is pretty uncompromising in certain ways, but not in every way. Let's start with the ride quality. So as we know, this is the lightest 992 there's been. It's almost 1/4 of a ton lighter than the 911 Dakar. It's a huge amount. And so compared to a GT3 Touring, the spring rate isn't really any different, but the damper tuning is very different. And a big part of that is the weight saving in this car, says Porsche. Because of that, they've been able to retune the dampers and bring back some ride quality. And it does feel quite different to a GT3. Those cars are now pretty tough, particularly on a British B road, a bumpy road. They can feel quite stiff, quite unyielding. This one is better. It's not night and day. It's not suddenly super plush, super supple, gliding, breathing along the road. It's not quite like that, but it's not as tough as a GT3. Actually, the chassis is gorgeous in this car. The body control is outrageous. There's just acres and acres of body control. On Cup 2 tyres, on a dry road, the grip is enormous. And the car really does feel light all the time. Everything that you do, it feels light. The way it accelerates, the way it stops, the way it dives into a corner, that control that it has over its mass. It's like there's no inertia to it. It just snaps into direction changes. It's absolutely fantastic. And the steering, it's really sharp. It's actually really quick. When you get out of the Dakar and into this, the steering takes you by surprise because it's so sharp, but there's no slack in it whatsoever. So you don't so much steer down a road as think your way along a road. It's just tiny little inputs that are intuitive to you. It's wonderful. Everything about this car is just so much sharper than the Dakar. You just squeeze the brake pedal and the car goes up on its nose and comes to a halt. The chassis, the way this car handles, how light it feels, it's just electrifying.
(1,963 STs will be built, or 1963, the year the 911 was born. The ST shares its 518 brake horsepower engine with the GT3 RS, but here it's mated to a short ratio 6-speed manual gearbox. Along with that lightweight clutch and flywheel, it all means this is the most hardcore powertrain ever fitted to a modern 911.
Has there ever been a better powertrain in a modern 911 than this? Not for me. Not for me. This is something else. It's astonishing. Just listen to it. So what does that single mass flywheel give you? Just lightning responses. When you go to rev match on the way down, you just tickle the throttle and whap! It's just so quick, so responsive. The way it charges to the red line at 9,000 RPM, the intensity, the energy of the power delivery. Oh my God. The engine sounds fantastic. It's got good torque. It pulls really well through the mid-range for this kind of engine. But the top end is just outrageous with all that power in such a light car. This ST is so fast. Honestly, it just gets going like a scolded cat. You don't need more power than this. Hypercars with double the power? Why? And then you've got this lovely mechanical, really short throw manual shift. It's just a fantastic shift. Perfectly suits the character of the car. Short, snappy, responsive. How often do people like me moan about the gear ratios in these very special Porsche Motorsport 911s, but not in this one? They're nice and tightly stacked, which just means you get to enjoy the gear shift even more. I like the seats in this one. We've got these carbon bucket seats. They're really good, they're supportive, they're comfortable. The Dakar has got bucket seats as well, but for me they're too upright. I just feel a bit uncomfortable in them. If I was speccing a 911 Dakar, I'd have the comfort seats. They just suit the character of that car better. But these chairs suit the character of this car perfectly. And the character of this car is just absolutely scintillating from front to back, top to bottom. It's phenomenal. So I've got a favourite between these two cars. Can you work out which one it is? But I think we should go and see if Andrew Frankel has a favourite too.
We're delighted to be working with PistonHeads, the UK's #1 performance and premium used car marketplace, now with a new online auction platform to complement the already bustling classifieds. More and more people are choosing to buy and sell their cars by online auction. PistonHead's comprehensive auction listings are curated by professionals with in-depth descriptions and stacks of photographs. Bidders can ask sellers questions online and arrange viewings before bidding with confidence, thanks to the transparent listings. If you're looking to buy or you're just browsing, visit pistonheads.com/buy/auctions or click the link in the description to see what's live on the platform right now and what's sold recently. For sellers, you'll be reaching the largest audience of performance car buyers in the UK with PistonHeads. It's safe and hassle-free, and with a realistic reserve, you can be confident your car will have a new owner by a fixed date. No more dealing with scammers or tyre kickers. If you're thinking of selling your car on PistonHeads auction platform, visit pistonheads.com/sell/auctions or click the link in the description, and remember to tell them the Intercooler sent you.
Andrew, let's start by talking values, or list prices at least, right?
Yeah, not the same thing.
So list price, 173,000 for the Dakar.
Yeah.
231,600 for the 911 ST.
Yes.
But as we know, special edition 911s almost always go for overs.
Yeah.
If you don't get one from the dealership, brand new, first time around.
Yeah.
But the cheapest Dakar that I saw advertised yesterday was up for about 190,000.
And that's what it's advertised for.
And that's after some optional extras, presumably.
Yeah.
So that's probably going to
So
go for maybe less than someone paid for it new.
Possibly.
So these have come down to potentially below less.
And we've seen this not just with Porsches, but all sorts of exotic cars. There is a trend. The idea that you can get one of these things, well, we'll come to the ST in a minute, but you can get one of these things and it's a guaranteed free ride for as long as you got it, plus a few tens of thousands in your bank at the end. I don't think that model works anymore.
No, I think those days are gone. Certainly for the Dakar, there isn't an overs market for the 911 Dakar. ST values, right?
Yeah. Well, we know what people are asking for them.
They're still riding their hype wave, right?
It's a much newer car.
And
it's even more limited.
It is even more limited.
Yeah.
You see them listed for close to 500,000.
I know, which is double this price.
Yeah.
Whether they're getting that or not.
But this is the thing. So the GT3 RS, a few months ago, maybe a year or so ago, they were being advertised for close to £500,000.
Yeah.
Now they're down to more or less list. So it doesn't look like there's a strong overs market for the GT3 RS. If that happens to this one, well, it remains to be seen, doesn't it? But
yeah, I mean, it is a bit different because we know how limited these are. GT3 RS, they make as many as they can make.
And every generation.
And every generation.
Two
yeah,
models.
Exactly. So I think the terms of reference are quite different. And as an investment, you'd have, particularly with something like an ST, which is a road-going GT3 RS, isn't it?
Yeah.
You'd have to back that just because of what it is and how many will be made.
Yeah.
But even so, I think the point you make is valid.
Yeah. But these two cars, they demonstrate an important point about the 911, right?
Yes.
And that's adaptability.
Versatility.
Versatility.
Extraordinary.
So all we've got here is two limited edition models.
Yeah.
Forget the Carreras, forget the Targas, the Cabs, the Turbo, all sorts, right? We've just got two special edition cars here, but they couldn't be more different.
No, they are absolutely, they just show what the 911 can do.
Yeah.
They are sit at the two poles of what, this structure can do. It is amazing.
Yeah, yeah. So we've got an off-road sports car, essentially, and the ultimate lightweight, hardcore, road-going 911.
Yeah.
Two totally different philosophies.
I mean,
car.
the kind of ultimate all-season daily driver.
Yeah.
The other, a really specialised high days and holiday, very, very precise, very focused joy machine, really.
Yeah. So you're like me then. You don't view the Dakar as an off-road sports car because, I mean, that's how it's sort of marketed, isn't it? But people aren't going to use them
and all the Dakar bits, and you can see there it's got these sort of towing eyes in the front and in the back, and I understand, I get all that in the Dakar business. But actually, if you think of this instead as being what it is, which is a Carrera GTS all-road. Yeah. It works fabulously well. For so many different reasons, and not just for people who live in snow states or down rutted tracks. Because it's got actually some sidewall and some quite soft long travel suspension, it rides beautifully.
Yeah, it rides really good.
Actually, to live with every day, I'd probably have one of these over almost any 911 for those reasons alone. Also, it doesn't have enormous amounts of grip. So if you want to play about with it, get to the really good bit, the bit we enjoy doing, it's so much easier in a car like this. So, there's a lot to be said for it.
Would your Dakar have the knobbly Pirelli Scorpion tyres?
I keep them for the winter, and then I think I'd just put a set of Michelin Pilot 4S's on it. Yeah, but I'd definitely have the knobblies for the winter, particularly where I live. Yeah, it'd be brilliant.
And would you have bucket seats in yours?
No.
They're the wrong seats for this car, aren't they?
I would want it as understated, and I mean, I'd debadge it. I'd want as little of the Dakar presence as possible.
Maybe that could be black.
Well, if you could, all of the ability, but none of the look at me. Yeah, that's what I would have.
Yeah, because it is. You're right. It is a fantastic year-round, but particularly winter sports car.
Yeah.
I mean, if this was your smoker through November to February, you'd just be delighted, wouldn't you?
Yeah, and I wouldn't mind it the rest of the time either. I'd just get on with it really well. It's just a really nice place to be.
Let's move it on then.
Yeah.
This is a nice place to be.
Oh my goodness.
In a different way.
When the time and the environment is right, this is the best modern 911 I've driven.
Ooh. Wow.
Go on. Talk to me. Okay.
how far back are we looking? What do I mean by modern? Okay, I think you have to look back at least until a 997 before, in terms of how I want a car to drive, you're getting close to what this can do.
So we drove a few months ago maybe, a 911R.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to figure out for myself if I prefer this or the 911R.
Go on.
Because this is this generation's 911R essentially, isn't it? It doesn't have the badge, but the idea behind it is very much the same.
Yeah.
And when we drove that car a few weeks ago, I was blown away by it.
Oh, it's a
I thought it was
machine.
wonderful.
Yeah.
And this is as well, but I just wonder if that 911R was the one that captured me, that won me over, that intoxicated me just a little bit more.
Well, I mean, each to their own. To me, this, and it is a very singular, it's a very personal thing, and I think there's another big point to make with this car, which is that conditions have to be right.
Yeah.
You know, the weather is fine now, the roads are dry, we've had a terrific time in it, but when I drove it over this morning, in the damp, and it was a lot colder, and it was raining a bit, I actually just gave up trying to drive it fast, because it comes as standard on Michelin Cup 2 rubber. And what I don't understand is, you know, Porsche are the first to say, this is a road car. This is meant to be ultimate fun on the road.
I agree.
They've never set a Nürburgring lap time. They're not interested. They don't care. So if it is the ultimate Porsche road car, why put it out on track tyres?
Yeah.
I don't understand.
Because the
other thing is, even when the roads are really good and it's dry and these things are doing what they're meant to do, what they do is just provide enormous amounts of grip, which actually means the good bits, where you want to skid it about a little bit, are just that much further away.
It's difficult to get to that point.
Difficult to get to that point.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I agree with you. And a 4S, a warm 4S on a dry road, produces plenty of grip.
Plenty.
Enough.
Yeah.
This thing would be a rocket ship down the road on a 4S. It doesn't need the extra grip. So I do agree with you.
I still love it. I still absolutely. There was a bit earlier today, because I've been wondering all day as the roads have been drying out and we've been, you know, doing what we've been doing. I've been wondering, what is it like when you finally really let rip in it, in the way, and drive it the way it's designed to be driven. It was phenomenal. And what I loved about it, I mean, obviously it's got a GT3 RS engine in it, so 518 horsepower, 9,000 RPM, all that stuff. And it's nuts. But actually what I like most about it is just the way that it's set up. Because it has the same springs and dampers as a GT3. But I read somewhere that a bloke spent a year tuning the damper iteration after iteration, tuning the dampers on this. And it just works on the road so well, in a way that no GT3 works on the road. I mean, the current GT3 Touring, why doesn't that ride like this? Why is that not as inviting and engaging on a public road as this? I think if that car had these suspension settings, we'd have raved about it.
Yeah. The only frustration with these cars is that they are limited, they're very expensive. Not many people are going to get to try them.
They are so good. They show how much life is left in this design.
Oh God,
just how further in both directions the envelope can be pushed. But then they say, well, yeah, that's great, we could do that, but there are only 1,963 people who can enjoy that, and 2,500 who can enjoy that. And the rest of you, sorry guys.
Yeah, it's not many, is it?
Yeah.
It's not many at all. I really, really like the Dakar, but there's something about this car. It really is intoxicating. It's the one that I would choose to go home in.
I hate horses for courses verdicts. I write about this all the time. I say, you've got to decide, you can't sit on the fence. But to me, they're such different things.
Yeah.
We're up a mountain at the moment, so to go home, I would take the ST, because I've got to drive over a bit of a mountain to get there.
Brilliant.
And in that environment, this is just streets ahead. But once I was home, and you know, later on this evening, I've got to go to a train station to collect my daughter and various other. I've been in that every time.
Yeah.
So they are such different. I mean, gun to head, yes, of course, because I'm a driver first and foremost, and these are 911s, and they are all about driving. So yes, if you know, the ST is the car. But at the same time, every time I saw somebody in one of those, I would know that they were having not an awful lot less fun, but an awful lot more of the time.
Yeah. Fair enough. Two fantastic cars though.
Brilliant cars.
I've had a great time driving them these last couple of days. Hopefully not for the last time. Well, thank you everybody for watching. Please remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel, give this video a thumbs up, and you can, as I told you earlier in this video, sign up to the Intercooler absolutely free with no credit card, no commitment for 3 weeks. Just click this link here and you can read everything we've ever published if you want to, including this twin test. So please go and do that, and thank you ever so much for watching.